Okay, let's dive right into this explainer and tackle a massive misconception right out of the gate. If you're new to greenhouse growing, or honestly, even if you've been at it a while, it's super easy to think a greenhouse just needs to be hot and sunny to do its job. But here's the reality. If heat and sunlight are the only things you're providing, you are basically trapping your plants in a parked car in the middle of July. Welcome to the definitive guide on how to ventilate a greenhouse properly. By the end of this, we're going to transform you from someone who just crosses their fingers and hopes for the best into a grower who completely commands their climate.
Seriously, are you accidentally suffocating your own greenhouse? It's a critical question. Without proper ventilation, the air inside a sealed greenhouse rapidly overheats even on a surprisingly mild sunny day. And when that happens, your plants can literally suffocate from a lack of fresh carbon dioxide. Plus, stagnant air and excessive moisture, they are the perfect breeding ground for devastating fungal diseases. You've got to remember, you aren't just trying to cool down a room, you are managing a living, breathing ecosystem.
So here's our quick roadmap for today's explainer. We'll hit part 1, understanding airflow. 2, ventilation systems. 3, effective setup. 4, implementing those systems. 5, troubleshooting. And 6, we'll wrap up with some expert tips. All right, part 1, understanding greenhouse ventilation and the actual science of airflow. At its core, ventilation is just the process of removing stale, hot air from inside and replacing it with fresh outside air. But why is this absolutely crucial? Well, think of it as the big 3 benefits for plant health. First, you get optimal temperature control to stop fatal overheating. Second, humidity regulation. Studies show that when humidity levels creep over 90%, you get a rapid explosion of devastating fungal diseases like leaf mold. And third, pest and disease management, which goes hand in hand with replenishing the vital carbon dioxide your plants literally need to breathe and photosynthesize. Moving right along to part 2, types of ventilation systems. Basically, we're looking at natural versus mechanical setups. There are really 2 main ways to get that air moving. What we're looking at here is a gorgeous example of passive natural ventilation. It relies completely on thermal gradients and wind. It's just physics doing the heavy lifting. Warm air naturally becomes lighter and rises up to escape through those open roof vents. And as it rushes out, it creates a vacuum that pulls cooler, fresh air in through the side vents. It is a wonderfully elegant passive exchange. But you've got to understand the trade-offs here. While natural ventilation is amazing for your wallet because it costs 0 electricity, it totally relies on the weather actually cooperating. Mechanical ventilation, on the other hand, uses active exhaust fans. This gives you guaranteed, pinpoint control over your microclimate, even on those sweltering, totally windless summer days. The downside? Well, you need a solid electrical setup, and yes, your plants are going to be adding to your monthly power bill. Which brings us to Section 3, key considerations for an effective setup, and what we call the golden rule of sizing. Listen, to make mechanical ventilation work, you can't just buy a random fan off the shelf and hope for the best. You have to size it perfectly based on your greenhouse's dimensions, your local climate, and the specific crops you're growing. And that leads us to the single most important number in greenhouse climate control. The golden rule for summer cooling is this. You need to achieve 1 complete air exchange per minute. That means every 60 seconds, the entire volume of air inside your space must be pulled out and totally replaced with fresh air. Let's make this math super simple so you can actually apply it today. Exhaust fans are rated in CFM, or cubic feet per minute. To find your target CFM, first calculate the square footage of your end wall. Then, multiply that by the length of the greenhouse. That gives you your total interior volume. So if your greenhouse has a total volume of 280,000 cubic feet, your mechanical fan capacity needs to be exactly 280,000 CFM to keep everything thriving during peak summer heat. Okay, Section 4, a guide to actually implementing these systems step by step. Let's look at the ingenious mechanics that can automate your climate controls so you don't even have to lift a finger. If you're going the natural route with roof vents, you have to check out the solar-powered wax cylinder. Honestly, this is a brilliant piece of engineering. Inside that little piston is a specific mineral wax. As the greenhouse temperature rises, that wax physically expands, and that expansion literally pushes the vent open. When the sun goes down and it cools off, the wax shrinks and a spring pulls the vent perfectly closed. It is 100% automated without a single drop of electricity. Now, if you're building an active mechanical system, lock this essential rule into your brain. Your louvered intake vents absolutely must be larger than your exhaust fans. The industry standard is that your intake area needs to be at least 1.25 times the surface area of your exhaust fans. Why? Because if those intakes are too small, you're going to choke the airflow. Your exhaust fans will be screaming, working twice as hard for just a fraction of the cooling. All right, let's jump to Section 5, troubleshooting common issues and some quick fixes to keep that air moving.
Look, in any growing setup, things are going to go wrong eventually. Even the best systems have hiccups, so let's figure out how to troubleshoot quickly before you lose a crop. Let's start with those brilliant passive vents we just talked about. If it's a scorcher of a day and you notice your beautiful automatic roof vents are barely cracking open, don't panic. It usually just means the wax inside that cylinder has gotten a bit stuck and needs a quick kickstart to reset its hydraulic pressure.
Here is exactly how you fix it. Just remove the cylinder and pop it in the refrigerator, not the freezer, just the regular fridge next to your leftovers, for about 30 minutes. This forces the wax to fully contract. Immediately after you take it out, run that cylinder under hot sink water for 5 to 10 minutes to rapidly expand it. This extreme hot and cold shock therapy almost always resets the mechanism and gets it working like new. Another massive red flag to watch out for is condensation. If you walk in and smell a musty odor, or you see water droplets forming on cool surfaces or leaf tips, you've got a dangerous humidity spike on your hands. You have to increase your air exchange immediately. Throw open the vents, crank the fans. Also, tweak your daily habits. Try to water your crops first thing in the morning. That gives the soil surface time to dry out during the day, so moisture isn't just sitting there trapped overnight.
Finally, Section 6, Expert Tips and Real-Life Pro-Level Strategies.
If you really want to master your microclimate, we should take a page right out of the commercial grower's playbook. Experts universally agree on one major practice: running internal circulation fans, often called horizontal airflow or HAF fans, constantly. Keep in mind, unlike exhaust fans that pull air out of the building, circulation fans just move the existing air around inside. Running these 24/7 is hands down the best way to prevent stagnant disease pockets from forming, and it aids in crop pollination by mimicking a gentle, constant outdoor breeze.
As you get more advanced, keep these upgrades in mind. You can easily filter harsh summer sunlight by rolling out shade curtains to drop the internal temp. Also, here is a sneaky mistake a lot of people make. If you put insect screens over your vents to keep the bugs out, be aware that the mesh physically restricts airflow. So you always need to size your fans up to account for about a 10% airflow reduction. That 10% is crucial. And lastly, grab an automated thermostat for totally hands-off, precise mechanical control.
Now, a quick reality check. Every single greenhouse microclimate is completely unique. How it sits against the sun, your local wind patterns, even the specific broadleaf crops you plant, it all changes the math. So while everything we've covered is based on expert commercial advice, use these baselines to confidently adapt and design a setup for your own specific sanctuary. And hey, if you're building a massive commercial setup, definitely don't hesitate to consult a professional designer. We've covered the critical science of air exchange, the math behind CFM, and the actual hardware you need to put it on autopilot. Now that you understand the raw power of airflow and how it directly dictates the life or death of your plants, I've got to ask, what is the very first upgrade you're going to make today to ensure your greenhouse thrives this season? Go check those vents, do the math on your fans, and let's get that air moving.